Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Wells. I write horror, fantasy, and science fiction, and I talk about games on the internet. Today I'm going to talk about Icons, which is a really cool superhero role playing game. And honestly, it feels to me very Fate ish, particularly Fate accelerated, in the way that it is smooth and in the way that it's got a lot of things that kind of overlap. We have determination points and qualities and maneuvers, which are essentially analogous to fate points and aspects and creating advantage, things like that. Anyway, let's get into it and talk about it a little bit. Um, it I am increasingly infatuated with very simple games and with very narrative games that don't make me learn 1,000 rules just in order to play them. I still like those kinds of games. I love Infinity, for example, which is ridiculously crunchy. But something like this, that you can do character creation in about 3 minutes and then just play through making things up as you go, I love that kind of thing. Let's take a look. Let's start with a character sheet. Okay? So, stamina is basically hit points. You take damage and you lose that and then stuff happens. So you've got these abilities, there's 6 of them. Similar to the way Fate works, they've all got adjectives, but they also all have numbers. And everything in the game works on this same scale of numbers, which is really neat. So down here where she's got powers, these are the same things. So if somebody punches her and they have strength of, let's say, 5, which would make it good strength, she has damage resistance of 7, so she blocks all of that and doesn't take any damage from it. If somebody attacks her with some attribute or power that has a value of 8, then her damage resistance only blocks 7 of it, and she takes 1 damage. See? So that's how it goes. And everyone also has qualities, and which, like I said, are very similar to the aspects that you would find in the Fate system. I can handle this, Princess of Power, trained by All-Star. The purpose of qualities is that you can tag them while rolling. The core mechanic of the game is that you have a d6 rather than Fate dice. You have a d6 and then you roll it and you add the value of whatever it is you're trying to do. But you can always modify that, for example, by referencing a quality. And that could be both good or bad. So if you're in a situation where she's feeling really confident, then I can handle this is going to give her a bonus. But you, as a player, or also possibly the game master, could use I can handle this against you, maybe by making her overconfident. She's in over her head, something's gone wrong, and she's going to make a roll, and the game master says, I'm going to use I can handle this against you, which is going to make you think you're a little too confident. You're going to get in over your head. In order to use a quality in your favor, you have to spend a determination point. And when somebody uses a quality against you, you gain a determination point. And it can actually then be useful, and in fact is common during play, to use your own qualities against yourself, just because you need the inspiration, those determination points. You want to get them for the future, and so you're willing to tank certain roles or actions or scenes because coming up you're going to want to have enough determination points to win the fight. Now, the way that one of the things that differentiates this system from the way Fate does it is that the way the benefit that qualities can give you is different. In Fate, it's just kind of a flat +2. You use a quality, you get the thing. So here, these qualities, you might get a +2, but you could also get some other stuff. Maybe you get a secret clue. Maybe you can increase an ability a little bit or get some stamina back. I especially love retcon. If you are able to tag a quality in an action that you're taking, you might be able to retcon something. And this works similar to the way, for example, that the Leverage RPG works, in which you're able to, I've talked about this before, Leverage has a power that your gadget guy has called, do you have that thing I made you? And so you can actually do something very similar here with the retcon, where you're like, oh, well, I knew this was going to happen, so I came prepared with this cool item from my utility belt or whatever. So anyway, I haven't spent much time talking about this, but you already know exactly how to play this game. You take a d6, you add the value, you're done. And you have determination points where you can gain and lose advantages by tagging qualities. I mean, that's basically it. That's the entire game. So let's take a look really quick at hero creation so you can see how simple it is and how interesting it is. First of all, the entire thing is intended to be random, and I am a sucker for random character generation. Obviously, if you want to just choose things, you can, pending Game Master approval. And there's different ways that you can do this, but the basic idea is that you're going to roll everything. And so you have trained. You're highly skilled. Any powers actually come from devices and powers. This is kind of the Batman category. Normal human, but trained to the peak of human perfection with some cool gadgets. Transformed. You were a normal human, but you became superhuman through some outside agency. So this is like Spider-Man, right? Normal human, bitten by a radioactive spider. Now you've got cool superpowers. What you get here, or I guess the cool benefit of trained, we didn't talk about that. You get 2 extra specialties, which are like skill bonuses. And you can get rid of a power to gain even more specialties. When you're transformed, your cool bonus is that one of your powers, or attributes, gets a +2 bonus to it. So that can be a lot of fun. Birthright. The hero was born with or destined to develop superhuman powers. So this would be maybe Wonder Woman. You're just born this way. It's part of who you are inherently. You have you gain your choice of 1 additional power, which should be innate and not a device, or +2 to a rolled power level of your choice. So an extra power or one of your powers becomes stronger. Similar to Transformed, but with a little more variation in it. Gimmick. The character's power all come from devices of some kind. This is the Iron Man. This is the Tony Stark. And you can see their benefit is one of the character's mental attributes is increased by +2. So, Tony Stark. Artificial. The character is a robot or some kind of construct such as a golem. So this could be Vision. This could be Data from Star Trek, who's not a superhero, but we're talking about artificial people. Your strength is increased. You have life support power, which means you don't need like air and sleep and things like that. And then last of all, unearthly. Alien, elemental, angel, devil, even deity. This is Thor. This is Superman. This is whatever. Increase 2 of the character's abilities by +2, or roll twice on this table and have both of these things, and that which would be awesome. Anyway, so this takes you 10 seconds. You roll 2d6, you figure out what you're looking at, and that's what you got. Okay? Then down here, did I skip a page? Level determination. This is important. For every attribute you have, for every power you have, for everything else, you roll 2 dice, you check what it is here. I pointed at the screen. You guys can't see what I'm pointing at. And then you see what the power level is. So 5, 6, 7, and 8 are going to be the most common rolls on 2d6 because of the way the bell curve works. So most of what your powers are going to be is 4 and 5. But sometimes you'll spike up really high, or you'll get one of these others, and there you go. So next is attributes, which basically you just roll on that level table, and those are your attributes. Next is powers. How many powers? You roll on this table, you get that thing. Then you have power type. So for every power, you roll 2d6 to see what the power type is, and then you roll 2d6 again. One will determine the broad category, and one will narrow it down. So these are all very simple, right? I really love random power tables. I played Heroes Unlimited from Palladium Books forever as a kid. Made 1,000 characters in that system. And so this kind of random power generation is right up my alley. But whereas the Heroes Unlimited system is very crunchy, very number specific. This is very broad categories and with very simple powers. So, for example, growth. You end up with growth. That just means that you can get big, and it ends up giving you a boost to strength and maybe a boost to a couple other things, maybe some damage reduction, and you're ready to go. So there's alteration, control, defensive, mental, offensive, movement, sensory. Those are the powers. Last of all is specialties. These, like I said, are the skills. How many of those do you get? You roll on that thing, and then you get things like this, and you can roll these purely randomly. Are you really good at performance or pilot or sleight of hand, etc., etc.? And that's it. And then you're done, and your character's finished. Let's take a look at some of the... your character's not completely finished because you have to figure out like how many determination points you have and things like that. But it's all easy. So let's look at some of the powers. I mentioned growth, so let's look at growth. Boom. Growth. Growth increases your size and strength while also making you easier to notice and hit. While enlarged, you acquire the large quality, which, like we said with all other qualities, you can tag that. Activated normally for advantage or trouble. Your strength becomes the greater of your current growth level or your normal strength plus 1, and you gain damage resistance equal to your current growth level. So let's say your strength is 4 and your the level you have, the value of your growth power is 7. So suddenly your strength jumps up to 7, okay? And you have damage reduction of 7. If your growth is only 2, but your strength is 4, then you don't grow as much. You just add plus 1 to that strength, so you'd have 5, but then you still get that damage reduction of 2 because you rolled kind of low for your growth power, okay? So there's lots of neat things that you can do. All of these are very simple. All of these are very fun and evocative. And it's, the game is so fast playing. You can just run through this. The narrative of it is so great. Let's take a look at some of the bad guys. I really love Confederape because somebody's like, you know what? We're going to put in a racist gorilla who's a Civil War reenactor. And just has normal powers, specialties, fast attack, leaping, mind control, super senses. The apes shall rise again, rebel primate, southern gentleman. You already know everything there is to know about this character because the way that these very simple stats work tells you everything. And I am just so in love with the whole concept of qualities. Every game that they show up in, it's just taking these simple descriptive phrases and giving them a game mechanic. It works so well for me, and I love it. You can read something like this and instantly know who this person is, how their powers work, what they're good at, what they're not. Done. And this book includes so many. It has a ton of kind of player characters if you don't want to roll your own or if you just need some allies. And then it has a ton of bad guys. People who we skipped over. Speed Demon. We're skipping through a lot because my mouse is very overactive today. Anyway, the Icons is a great superhero game. Plays fast, plays simple, but still has a lot of opportunity for cool narrative, for cool storytelling, a lot of variability, a really fantastic mix of what little crunch there is mixes well with the very narrative style and ends up producing a really fun game that plays really smoothly and feels very similar to Fate, which is a fantastic system. So anyway, check it out. Icons Assembled Edition. There are a ton. There's a dozen or so kind of splat books and source books that will add new powers and new other things, and we'll take a look at some of those other ones later in the year. But all you really need to play is this, Icons Assembled Edition. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'm Dan Wells, and you are awesome.